Hi, Robert O'Brien from O'Brien Guitars. Every time I get an interesting instrument into the shop, try saying that fast 3 times, I like to turn the camera on. So I had one come into the shop this morning. This is an old Martin from the New York era. They hadn't moved to Pennsylvania yet, which, as far as I understand, was somewhere around the end of the 1800s, 1898, 1899, somewhere in there. They went to Pennsylvania. So the way that you can tell an old Martin, it has some stamps on it. This is pre-serial number, so there's no serial number in this. But if you look in the center reinforcement strip in the back, there's a stamp that says C.F. Martin, New York. There's one on the heel block. There's one on the back of the peg head. And all of these check out, C.F. Martin, New York. I had a counterfeit Martin come into my shop a number of years ago, and it was identical to the C.F. Martin brand, except that it said C.M. Martin on all the stamps. Everything else was identical. It was a high-end ivory knobs and everything. And they were counterfeiting guitars 100 years ago too. This is some pretty high-end Brazilian rosewood. As far as we can understand, this is the model 2 or 2.5. And there's some of the measurements from the charts and graphs that I have here. They are a number 2, and some of them are for the 2.5. So this is, maybe built on a Friday or a Monday, because there's some measurements that don't quite go with either one of those. But very high end. Something interesting. Actually, no, it's not quite as high end, because I've had a bunch of ivory on the ones that are super high end. This one I think has ivory knobs on the peg head. Something interesting about this is the owner, who's just off camera here, told me that somebody tried to make this a dobro years ago. Okay, so there's no longer original bridge on there. There's a big hunk of wood on the inside that almost looks just like the bridge on the outside. So they tried to make it a dobro. At some point there was a tailpiece on here, but the interesting thing, it still has the bar frets in there. Doesn't have the ice cream cone heel. It has a regular heel, and as far as I understand, these possibly were made out of cedar. So we think that this instrument is somewhere between about 1860 to 1870. And as far as everything I've seen about these old instruments, that checks out for that time period. So one of the interesting things about this guitar, I've redone several 1890 Martin guitars, and they all were X-braced. Heavily scalped, very thin, very small bracing, but they were X-braces. This one is not an X-brace. It looks more like a fan brace. And there is one tone bar down here. If I open this up, you can see that there's a tone bar down there, and there's a notch in it. So there was a center, like a fan brace going down there, and there's a couple of fan braces coming off this way, but there's still some finger braces inside there. So I don't know if they were transitioning into their X brace at that point, or if this was, made to be more of a classical type guitar. I don't know, but very interesting. I've looked in a lot of old Martins over the years, and this is kind of a hybrid thing with a tone bar and something like some fan bracing going on. Very nice instrument, a lot of history. The dots on the fretboard were decals. They just peel right off. There wouldn't have been any dots usually on these fretboards anyway. Peg head's been broken. It's come off. Somebody's put some old screws in there, and they're old slot head screws, so it's a very old repair. Been some repair along the way, but a very interesting instrument, and I thought I'd turn the camera on so you see what an old Martin looks like. Happy building, guys.